So I think we've got a good mix here. The first thing I do is give my edges a bit of a squeeze. I like to get the julienne cut ones because then I'm really able to spread them out evenly. Today I'm going to make a torta rustica. I get really excited about my torta rustica because all of my family and friends absolutely love it. In fact, they usually ask me to bring it for special occasions. It's not difficult to make. There's a few steps involved, but it's so worth it. Look at the beautiful ingredients. You've got tortellini, fontina cheese, artichoke hearts, sun-dried tomatoes, pimentos. It's just absolutely delicious, and when we cut into it, wait until you see how beautiful it looks on the inside. Let's get started. To make the dough, we're going to add a teaspoon of salt to our flour. We're going to place all of our flour into the bowl of our mixer. Now I'm going to place a few cubes of butter to start. We're going to get the mixer going. And once our flour and butter turns into crumbs, we're going to add the rest of the butter. Gradually add your butter. Now I'm going to add my milk in with my eggs. This is 2 whole eggs and 2 yolks. And I'm just going to give this a good whisk. Now I'm going to gradually add my egg milk mixture into my flour mixture. I love this dough. It comes together so nicely, and wait until you start rolling it. It rolls perfectly. Coming together well. And I don't like to over mix the dough because then it gets tough to roll. So I think we've got a good mix here. Let's get ready to roll. So I've turned my dough onto my work surface and I'm kneading it. It should be very supple. If it's dry, just add a little bit more milk. We've got a nice ball of dough. I'm going to set this aside and we're going to start making our spinach filling. Put 2 tablespoons of olive oil in our pan. I've got the heat on medium. We're going to saute our onions until they're translucent. Well, the onions look great. They're nice and translucent. It's time to add the spinach. It's very important when you're getting your spinach ready that you drain the excess liquid because you want to take all that extra liquid out. Otherwise, your torta rustica will have too much liquid in it. I'm going to whisk the eggs. I'm going to add the eggs to the mixture, the cheese. Sometimes I use grated Parmesan. Sometimes I use Pecorino Romano. Put the cheese that you like. I've used some Italian seasoned breadcrumbs, and now we're going to do some salt and pepper to taste. I'm a big fan of not over salting food. I always feel like it's easier to add more salt. You can never take it away. Mix it well together. We have our filling made. We're just about ready to roll out our dough, but we have one step to do first is to get our springform pan ready. So I cut a circle of parchment paper the size of the base of the pan. This just makes it easier to get the torta out when it's finished cooking. I put the ring on top and I seal up my pan. And so now you have the parchment laying there at the bottom. I love to prepare my pan with some nonstick cooking spray so that it's really easy to get the torta out when it's done cooking. So we've got a nice even coating there. I'm gonna cut my mound of dough. So we have 2/3, 1/3. We're gonna save 1/3 for the lid. Let's start rolling the dough. I lightly flour my work surface. We're almost there. Gently place it over the springform pan and slowly unroll it. So when I form my dough into the pan, sometimes I get a tear. No matter how many times I roll out dough, it happens, no worries. You've got plenty of dough to use to patch it up. And trust me, it's still gonna be equally delicious. Now I'm gonna roll the top. This is my favorite part of the recipe, layering the torta. So we start by adding half of the spinach mixture. That's gonna go first. I wish you can smell the spinach filling. It is so good. So that's about half. We're gonna press that in there. You want a nice even layer. We're gonna put a layer of our fontina cheese. You're gonna use about a third of it. Now the tortellini. This is not cooked tortellini. It's gonna totally bake in the torta. Pimentos. This gives it such a good flavor, and I like that it adds some color. Back to the cheese, marinated artichoke hearts, sun-dried tomatoes. I like to get the julienne cut ones because then I'm really able to spread them out evenly. It's okay if you get a little bit of the oil from the sun-dried tomatoes. Just don't use too much of it. Again, you don't want to add too much liquid. Put the rest of your fontina cheese on top. Press it down because we want to make room for the rest of our spinach. I make this dish vegetarian, but you could put some meat in here. You could take some sliced prosciutto and make a layer of that. Some ham, some smoked or baked ham, put a nice slice of that in one of the layers. It's time to put the last layer of dough on. To put the top crust on, just take your rolling pin and release the corner and slowly start turning your rolling pin until you have the top covered. Now what I do, I don't need all of this overhang, so I just start trimming the dough. You want a little bit because it's gonna help you make a beautiful edge, but this is too much. Keep your scraps because we're going to re-roll the scraps and make pretty leaf decoration for the top. I like to roll my edges under, but the first thing I do is give my edges a bit of a squeeze. Kind of seals them together. Okay, now I roll the edge under itself. I like a nice thick edge. I think it looks pretty. If you find that the edge is a little too thick, take your scissors and cut the dough back a little bit. Okay, so now we've got it all rolled under. I just give it a double check. Now for the decorative fluted edge. Place my index finger on the inside and then I squeeze the outside of the dough to a point, just like so. How pretty is that? Now we're going to roll out our scraps. You can use any cutter you want. I usually tailor my decorations to the season. Today I'm going to make little leaf cutouts. So I dip my cutter into flour. This is going to help release the dough easily. Give it a good press. Sometimes I even jiggle it a little bit. You push the button and out pops your leaf. Look at how beautiful. To make our egg wash, we need 1 egg and 2 tablespoons of cream. Just beat that together. I like to use a silicone brush. I've used the other types of brushes where they have natural hair, and sometimes I find that they break off and they end up on my food, so I prefer the silicone brushes. Just get your brush nice and wet and gently brush the wash onto the top of the torta. That's a nice even wash. So I placed the torta onto a baking pan, and we're gonna bake this in the oven at 375 for an hour and 15 minutes, or until the top is nice and golden. This delicious Italian pie, my favorite torta rustica, is out of the oven. I let it rest for about 15 minutes. Now I'm ready to slice into it. I can't wait to show you what it looks like on the inside. Look at that. All the layers of delicious vegetables and tortellini and cheese and spinach. Who wouldn't like a piece of this? Thank you for watching, and follow me on social media at Blame It on Biscotti, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more recipes and tips.